Oh my. I had like a moment of breakdown. My husband will argue that it was more than a moment, that it was several minutes, but it was a moment. I had a moment. In fact, I remember telling him to get me out of this place. Where will the poor man? Where is he going to take me to? Hey everyone, welcome to Norma today. My name is Norma Salo and I'm excited to have you here. Today, I'm going to be giving you gist on how my family and I were trapped in Zanzibar. It's going to be hot gist, so please just stay. In July 2021, just as the first and the second wave of COVID was coming down and Delta variant was spreading across the entire world. Travel bans had kind of been lifted, people were traveling again, and then my husband decided that he wanted us to travel on vacation. I was a little skeptical because, I just felt like the wahala in traveling at that time was too much, COVID protocol, what, do this, do that. So I just felt like, why go now? Why not wait? Give it a year, let things calm down properly and we can go. But my husband was insistent, we've had a really hard year and a half. Let's just take a break, and just get out and do something new. Eventually, I was convinced and we decided that we wanted to go sometime in September, first week of September actually. So we were working towards that. There was a working plan. Next thing was, where did we want to go to? We did our research and we decided that we wanted to go to Zanzibar. We looked up the COVID protocols, the travel requirements, and we felt like it was something that we could work with. So we tried to get our visa. We spent our time trying to get our visa, and we're working with that plan of the 1st of September. At that time, we were beginning to hear about the occurrences of Delta variants, even around us, neighbors, families, friends, people were just coming down with COVID. So we were just, very prayerful, trusting God, speaking the word, and then, also adhering to all the safety protocols for COVID. And that's how we went on until sometime around August, middle of August. My husband came back from work one day and said that a staff at work had COVID-like symptoms, and then we were just like, 5 days later, my husband comes down with the same kind of symptoms: backache, headaches, chills, fever, and all that. Of course, at this point, we're like, oh my, it seems like this thing is COVID though. The symptoms the symptoms were moderate symptoms, they were not very intense, even though, in the evenings he would calm down with it, and we started treating with malaria tablet, and the symptoms got better. 2 days later, I come down with exactly the same symptoms, even though my symptoms were much milder than his. So I got treated with malaria tablets, and in about a week's time, we were better. But we got better now. We realized that this our plan for first week of September might not work, because it's already 1 week to the end of August. So you need to do a COVID test 72 hours before arriving. So we do our calculations, and I'm wondering, the COVID strain, would it have disappeared from our blood by that time? And so we know that our plan of first week of September might not work. So we extend our travel plans by a week. And we're working towards that, even though, brothers and sisters, in my mind, I'm thinking, but not that I had not bought our ticket before we contacted to COVID. So it is after the 1 week of being ill, I'm feeling apprehensive here, and I'm kind of looking at my husband. I'm thinking, should we move forward with this thing? Should we not just back off? My husband's like, no, ahead. So we buy tickets, we book our accommodation, and now we're waiting. And in my mind, I'm saying, God, I'm in your hands, Saka girl. Anyway, so the day to leave Port Harcourt for Lagos comes, and we go. And then we get to Lagos, we do our test, and who remembers their first COVID test? That was my first COVID test. It was horrible. I sneezed like 50 times. There were tears pouring down from my eyes and all that. Myself, my husband, and my little daughter, we had our test, and then we went back to our hotel room to wait. Later, sometime in the evening, and mind you, this is the day before we travel to Ethiopia. We're going to go from Lagos to Ethiopia and then to Zanzibar. So We're waiting for our tests, and then our test results arrive. Lo and behold, negative. I don't think in fact, up until that moment, I don't think my mind had been prepared that we're traveling. But when we got that negative test, I was so excited. We're so happy. We're rejoicing in our minds. Okay, so we finally had COVID. We can travel in peace. Our immune system, we have natural immunity. We can go. We don't even need to adhere so much to those protocols anymore. So off we go. We go to Zanzibar and we have an amazing time. Zanzibar is kind of divided into Stone Town and the island. Stone Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So please, if anybody's ever thinking of going to anywhere beautiful, Zanzibar should be on your list. So we go and we have fun. We visit some of the most beautiful beaches, Paje, spend some time at the resort. The people are friendly, nice, and then the food is interesting. I had octopus for the first time there, and it was just a wonderful experience. It was 3 weeks of serious downtime away from Port Harcourt suits and all the hustle and bustle. Anyway, so we come to the end of our 3 weeks. And it's time to go back, and the plan is for us to go to Stone Town, and from Stone Town we'll do a COVID test. We need a COVID test 24 hours before we board our flight. So here we are in Stone Town, and we're packed up. We rented an Airbnb to stay in Stone Town 2 nights, and then we're off back to Lagos. We're kind of just rounding up, spending up all the local currencies that we have, trying to finish up all the food that we have so that we just don't have any loose ends here. We run our test, and we're waiting for it just a day before we travel. And then sometime in the evening, the test result comes in. Lo and behold, brothers and sisters, I'm negative, but my husband is positive. What? How's that possible? Because we just had COVID like 3 weeks ago. How can you have COVID again? We were just sort of thrown into confusion. In fact, the first thing was that we were in denial. My husband was like, this must be the wrong test. He's going out to go and find a place where he can do another test and see if we can get the results before our flight leaves the next day by 12 p.m. in the afternoon. There's just so much. In fact, everywhere's just upside down. We don't know what to do. So my husband rushes out and he's trying to make all his moves to see if he can do another test, while I'm there just thinking, oh my. Because my kids are supposed to start school immediately we get back to Port Harcourt. I'm just wondering, what is going on here? We already had COVID, you know? Anyway, so my husband comes back. He has tried everything he can do that evening, and nothing can be done. So he says, okay, tomorrow before the flight leaves, he's going to try to go back to where we did our original test and see if they can check to see if there was a mistake or a problem. Meanwhile, we're already thinking, what can we do? Eventuality, what can happen? Do I go back with them? Meanwhile, note that we don't have any symptom, not a headache, not a fever, nothing. We're all bouncing, we're all moving around. It is just impossible to imagine that we actually have COVID. So you can imagine that it was easy for us to feel that there was something wrong with that test result. So the next day comes, my husband rushes off in the morning, trying to see what he can do, but it was still all to no avail, because he comes back and it's very clear to us that we cannot be on that flight. We finally decide that I can't go with the kids, because what if, for example, he begins to manifest symptoms? What if they become severe? Who's going to be with him? This is a place where we don't know anybody, so let's all stay together. The people at the test center suggest that we stay a week before we come back to do a test. So we're thinking, okay, well, it's just a week. Let's just wait and see, you know. By then his test will be negative, and then we can all go back. Mind you, we have to immediately make changes to our flight. We don't have any more local currency, and then because of the forex issues in Nigeria, you can't really pay for accommodation with your card. So at this point, this is the dilemma. You cannot pay for accommodation, you have finished your local currency. What can you do? But then we have some dollars with us, and we just kind of make an arrangement for 2 extra days so we can pay cash to the Airbnb. While we're thinking of what next to do, what move to make, where do we want to stay? We of course have to go and get some more food because everything is finished. And then this wonderful lady. Shout out to Mariam. Mariam is the hostess of the Airbnb where we stayed at in Stone Town. Lovely lady, fantastic woman. I'm going to leave her contact in the description box. Please, if you're going to Zanzibar and you need good accommodation, Mariam can be of immense help to you. So Miriam reaches out to us and she asks, okay, when is your next departure date? And we let her know, okay, it's in about a week from now. And she says, okay, you know what, I understand that you people are family people, because I'm a family person like you, and I know this was something you didn't really plan for. You know what, you can stay here for those days, for those number of days. All you need to do is just take care of your internet and then your electricity bill. I cannot believe how wonderful a person she was. She doesn't know us from anywhere and she was that kind to us. Anyway, so we are free. So we stay there for free till the end of the week when we have to go back and do our test. And we've already shifted our travel dates to the end of that week. So when we do our test, off back to Nigeria so the kids can start their school and normal life can begin. So we go to Lumumba. Lumumba is the name of the test center. We go, we do our tests, and we go back home waiting for our results so that we can go back home. And then we wait, and in the evening, the test result comes out. And guess what? Not only is my husband still positive, I am also positive now. Oh my. I had like a moment of breakdown. My husband will argue that it was more than a moment, that it was several minutes, but it was a moment. I had a moment. In fact, I remember telling him to get me out of this place. Where will the poor man, where is he going to take me to? I just felt so trapped. I was like, we can't leave this place. I don't have symptoms. What are you talking about? Anyway, so now we already know we're not going anywhere. We need to look for accommodation because it so happens that people are coming into the Airbnb by 12 p.m. on the day of that we're supposed to leave. So we need to immediately make plans to get out. But thankfully, thank God for the wonderful friends that we made in Zanzibar. An Airbnb that we had previously stayed at in Stone Town when we came originally. Some of the friends we made there offered to give us their place for 3 days because they had 3 days before their next guest comes in. So they offered to give us those 3 days for half price and we could pay in cash. Remember, there's a forex problem in Nigeria. You can't pay more than a certain amount with your card. So it was such a kind-hearted thing for them to do. I'm going to leave their handle also. Shout out to Abdallah and Akif. I'm leaving their handle in the description. Please, if you need accommodation and need people who will treat you wonderfully, these guys were wonderful. They, apart from what we paid for, they also gave us a nice time at a wonderful beach resort in Paje. So wonderful. This is not a paid advert. It's just wonderful people who were so good to us at the time when we needed it. Anyway, so we go and stay at their place for 3 days. Now we're waiting to do another test in a week's time. That's a week from when we got the first test. But at this point, I'm already feeling somehow about it. And so, I tell my husband, you know what, let's let this thing, let's give it some time. Let's not go back in a week. Maybe we should extend it by 10 days, which means that we need to get another accommodation to spend the rest of our time there. So we stay there, and at the end of 3 days, we get a new place called the Boho Apartments where we move to. So we spend the rest of our days before we do another COVID test. In this time, we have already made peace with the situation and we begin to actually enjoy ourselves. We begin to rest. We begin to just enjoy the little things and just the little blessings available to us. Mind you, for every test, for every retest, that's for every test you do after you've tested positive, you don't have to pay. So this is our final, hopefully, this is our final test. We go back to Lumumba to do a test, and this time, this has got to be negative, or else what are we going to do? Once again, we finish up all our food, we finish up all our local currency, and off we head to Lumumba to do our COVID test. And we do it, and the test results come out the next day. My brothers and sisters, the test comes out negative. Negative for myself, negative for my husband, and we can eventually come back to Nigeria. How did a holiday turn into like an entrapment? And now my question is, what happened? The first times when we had all those symptoms, wasn't it COVID? And this time we had no symptoms. Meanwhile, we tested positive. What happened? Did we get COVID twice? Please let me know in the comment section what you think happened to us and if anybody has had similar experiences. At the end of the day, I think the lesson for us was that no matter what happens, whenever you find yourself in a situation that seems tough, if you can calm down, you'll find out that there's always something to be thankful for. There's always an advantage. It's just a clear case of all things working together for good, because the friendships that we made there, the connections that we made there, and just the extra downtime that we didn't know that we had was invaluable. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed my gist. Please, if you have, hit the like button. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I release my next video. And guys, until when I see you next time, bye. So guys, when you come back into Nigeria, you're required to do a COVID test after 7 days. When my husband and I went back to do that test, both our tests came out positive.